Let's start with the political reality. We just walked through a scenario showing that a permanent government shutdown would trigger the complete collapse of the United States as a functioning nation. But here's the key question. If everyone knows how devastating a shutdown is, why would the party in power allow one to happen? The answer lies in a calculated political strategy, deflection and blame. Here's what's happening. The Republicans currently control the levers of power needed to prevent this shutdown. They have the ability to pass funding bills and keep the government open. But instead, they're allowing the shutdown to occur while simultaneously blaming the Democrats for it. This is a deliberate political strategy designed to damage Democratic polling numbers while the Republicans technically hold the power to resolve the crisis. Think about how insidious this is. The party with the power to stop the shutdown is choosing not to, then pointing at the opposition and saying, "Look what they made us do." It's political gaslighting on a national scale, and it's working because the messaging is simple and repetitive. The Democrats are being obstinate. The Democrats won't compromise. This is the Democrats' shutdown. When SNAP benefits get paused and 42 million Americans suddenly face food insecurity, Republican messaging frames it as Democratic obstruction. When federal workers don't get paid and contractors lose their jobs, it's blamed on Democratic refusal to negotiate. When the economy bleeds billions of dollars every week, Republicans point at Democrats and say they could end this at any time. The Republican calculation is brutally cynical but potentially effective. We control the government. We have the power to end this. But if we can successfully convince the public that Democrats are to blame, we damage their electoral prospects without taking the political hit ourselves. Every family that can't afford groceries, every federal worker missing a mortgage payment, every small business that goes under, Republicans are betting they can redirect all that anger away from themselves and toward the Democrats. This strategy relies on controlling the narrative. Republican media outlets and politicians flood the zone with messaging about Democratic obstruction, Democratic extremism, Democratic refusal to compromise. They frame every consequence of the shutdown, consequences they have the power to prevent, as the Democrats' fault. And because political messaging often matters more than political reality, a significant portion of the public believes it. Here's what makes this particularly dangerous. The Republicans are playing with fire while holding the matches. They have the power to stop this crisis at any moment, but they're choosing not to because they believe the political damage to Democrats is worth the risk to the nation. They're betting they can push this to the brink, watch Democrats' polling numbers crater under the weight of public suffering, and then reopen the government while claiming they finally forced Democrats to see reason. But this assumes perfect control over an inherently chaotic situation. Every day the shutdown continues, the damage compounds. The economic losses become permanent. The social fabric tears. At some point, the damage becomes irreversible, and the political game becomes a national catastrophe that even the best messaging can't spin away. The Republican messaging machine is already in full operation. Every consequence of the shutdown, every closed park, every unpaid soldier, every hungry family, is being framed as evidence of Democratic extremism and unwillingness to govern responsibly. Meanwhile, the fact that Republicans have the power to end this with a simple vote is buried under an avalanche of blame shifting. Democrats are trapped in an impossible position. They can either cave to Republican demands, which rewards this cynical strategy and encourages it in the future, or they can hold firm on principle while watching Americans suffer and Republican messaging convinces voters that it's all their fault. Either way, Republicans believe they win politically. This is governance as hostage-taking. The Republicans are essentially saying, we're going to let the country suffer, and we're going to blame you for it unless you give us what we want. It's a strategy that treats the basic functions of government as leverage and treats millions of Americans' livelihoods as acceptable casualties in a political war. And here's what should terrify everyone. This strategy only works if Republicans can maintain message discipline and if Democrats eventually break. It requires that the public believes the Republican narrative that Democrats are to blame, despite Republicans having the power to end it. And it requires that someone blinks before the cascading failures we discussed earlier begin to take hold. What if the public sees through the spin? What if they recognize that the party with the power to govern is choosing not to? What if the shutdown lasts long enough that the real consequences, state bankruptcy, economic depression, social collapse, start becoming reality? At that point, no amount of messaging can save you from the political backlash of having deliberately caused a national catastrophe. The 2018-2019 shutdown lasted 35 days and caused $11 billion in GDP loss, with $3 billion permanently unrecoverable. Republicans are now betting they can engineer an even more damaging shutdown, successfully blame it on Democrats, and pull back before any permanent damage occurs. It's an extraordinarily dangerous gamble. Make no mistake, the Republican Party is making a calculated bet that they can allow massive suffering to occur on their watch, convince the public it's the Democrats' fault, and damage Democratic polling numbers badly enough to be worth the risk. They believe their messaging apparatus is strong enough to override political reality, that they can have the power while avoiding the responsibility. But they're playing with forces that don't care about messaging or spin. The cascading failures we outline don't pause for focus groups or polling. Once certain thresholds are crossed, once state governments go bankrupt, once the food supply chain breaks down, once civil unrest begins, the damage becomes irreversible. But we blame the Democrats isn't going to save them or the country. This has been Auditron. Stay informed and subscribe to the channel for more content like this.